Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 4th of March, comes to you from London. And a lot of red on the screen as we go into the weekend. And of course, it's been a difficult week for markets with everything that's happening in Ukraine, and we continue to spare a thought for the people of Ukraine. The dollar really surging higher this week. We've been saying for some time that 2022 would be the year of the dollar, well before there was the tensions that we're seeing. And interestingly, we're now looking to these upside targets. We did actually put out a report to our enterprise clients on the euro yesterday. But if you're running Updata, the targets are all there for you to see. And there's some pretty big downside targets. 110 is the level to break, and that looks like happening very, very soon. We're bearish on all three time frames, weekly, daily, and 60-minute, long-term, medium-term, and short-term view of the market with the downside targets. And we've got two targets below 110, so that's looking like a foregone conclusion. Sterling sitting at 133 against that stronger dollar, so weaker here as well. And if we look at it against the euro, we've surged through that 120 mark. And really now on the verge of making multi-year highs, so really quite significant. We've got upside targets to 122. That target there's been in place since September, 122.74. You just can't ignore the targets when you see them. Bitcoin's fallen back a little bit, so just starting to struggle to recover through the cloud here, but still looking like we might be finding long-term support there. The US stock market was lower yesterday, down 0.5%. The Nasdaq also looking lower. And really what's interesting, and in fact, all eyes really on Apple. Will we activate this downside target? Apple is the darling of the market, if you like, the biggest company in the world. And we are seeing here downside targets that have nearly been met. It'll be just a case of will Apple go with the rest and collapse. So all eyes there. The futures are down this morning by over 0.5% in the US. So it looks like we will see a lower close to the end of the week. The VIX volatility holding above that critical 30 level. The market is fearful when we're in the 30s, and we're seeing that trending up and targets much higher. The FTSE futures down nearly 2%. The DAX in Germany down over 2%. This is really starting to capitulate now. We've talked about this ever since this target was activated, and the fall through 15,000 was critical. So that's happened. And the DAX, the CAC 40 in Paris, also lower, down over 2%. And Asia didn't escape this either. So we had Japan down 2%. A lot of closing lower in Asia. 2.5% down on the Hong Kong market. Really has been in a downtrend for quite some time. China was down 1%. We're just seeing a global sell-off in equities. The Sensex down 0.75%, and the Aussie market also down 0.5%. Oz hasn't yet activated this downside target. It's one of the few Western markets not to have done that, which is why we were neutral in our global report out at the start of the month. But the reality is Oz is unlikely to escape this. It's very commodities laden as an index, and of course commodities have been rocketing. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. Wheat continues higher. It's up 40% since the beginning of the crisis. We've had these targets in place, and we've talked about. We were talking about these targets when wheat was way back here, and so there's no big surprises here. The speed at which has happened, obviously, was hard to predict, but the targets were always there. Corn also just on the verge of making multi-year highs. Gold sitting at 1940, so we are starting to see that rocketing. Everyone who's watched these videos knows we've talked about 2,400 for some time. Looking at palladium, up 1% there as well, and so we're just seeing that move higher. US 10-year yields are really just fluctuating on the uncertainty. The Fed have said they will raise rates this month, but the reality is we are just seeing a big fluctuation in the price. Looking at the energy mix, we talked about this. We put our report out to clients first thing this morning. We were neutral on crude. I mean, the long-term trend is good, but we are seeing signs of a sell-off today, and we've got downside targets there to look at. So those are the targets to watch. So we're neutral there, on the basis that one piece of news flow today suddenly the price can rocket. So we do need to just be aware that the picture can change very, very quickly. Keep an eye on these targets. US nat gas, also a mixed picture. Coal is up 5%, back below the 200 mark, but look at that weekly candle. It's quite unbelievable. But we did put our coal report out at the beginning of the week, giving the targets. And looking at emissions, we've had big falls this week. We see the big sort of weekly, the daily candles making up this week's fall. Does look like we've built a little bit of a base, and we've got upside targets. We're down slightly this morning, but this is the one area where we might just see a little bit of a relief rally. A gas was down this morning and now it's up, so again we were neutral. Very hard call. Looking very much like a move, a consolidation before a move higher. Of course, we've given our targets in our reports for the medium and long term, and the same with MBP. And German power is actually up 5%. We talked about this in our report again this morning, that we've got this potential breakout. It'll probably break higher, but we've got to wait for the break, and it'll just be interesting to see how this pattern plays out. That's it for today. Until Monday, have a great weekend. Happy charting. See you then.